Yeah, I can hear you well.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's.
Yeah, your audio is okay.
But okay, so we have these two. We have the blog and we have the intranet. Now, if we look at the blog from the commit message, we are given the public. We're told also the public API in the ghost needs an API key. And we're provided with this key. Let me just paste it into the notes. As it only allows access to public data. That's usually the first aspect of it. Then we see that it forms the environment. This is a composed YAML file. It's Docker. Typically, what it does is you provide it the name of a service. It will spin up a container. It's building on the current directory, so it assumes that the Docker file is in the same directory. That is why it's here. Then it's exposing this port to port 4000. It's using SQLite as a database. And it seems to have been redacted the internet key from the source file. Now, what we have is a bunch of JS files. It's a very long JS file. That I believe, okay, let's just go through it. It's a public.js file generating options. Then here we have posts that it's trying to generate. Then we have, this is whereby it gets interesting. We have an asynchronous query function. It's an asynchronous function called query. Then this is how it fetches the posts. It reads the posts from the options. And if we have provided an extra query, now this frame.original.query.extra is more of how TypeScript behaves. It imputes the particular attributes into the query. So I'm assuming it's trying to, this is how it deems it as the query. This is now what is seen as query, as the dot query. So it's trying to ask a question here. When it asks a question in terms of programming, what it means is, does this attribute exist? If it exists, then fetch the dot extra attributes. That's what it's trying to typically do. So, and if there's an extra argument applied, it will fetch now the FS library, which I believe in the file system. It will first check that the file exists, then it will proceed to concatenate the extra argument into this particular directory and proceed to read the contents and decode it as UTF-8. Then it will return that content. So logically speaking, we can go, yeah. Let me just explain a bit. We can come here and copy this function. Then we can notice that this concatenation originates from this aspect. Therefore, if we are able to provide, for example, let's say x equals to a, then we provide the extra argument here, we can be able to introduce traversal characters and be able to read whatever is inside. Because it's a Windows file system, or so we assume, so we can be able to validate this through the header. The header will always tell you a lot of things. Like this 8008, it tells us it's an Nginx Ubuntu, but we saw that we're in a Microsoft system, hence most likely this is it's a server. It's an Ubuntu server within a Microsoft system. So it's the Microsoft system that is routing traffic to the Ubuntu server, allowing us to access it. So since we know it's an Ubuntu, we can try with something that Etsy hosts or something like that. So we can look at query. I want to see where it's abused. It's used here in posts when you're using or checking for posts. So we can come to the blog that they were bragging about. This blog Then we can click here in search posts, tags, and others. Then if we look at our traffic inside the network, I'm not sure if HTB, I'm not sure why it's loading. Maybe it's just something with fetching of posts. But relatively speaking, it commits all of this. Now, I am curious if it uses any form of key. Okay, so reject private fields. So I'm just guessing it's something that's TypeScript based. Maybe I should refresh this. I remember I had an issue with this thing. So yeah, you can see the posts. It tries to fetch the posts through and it provides the key. So I can do that, and maybe it's just cached with my requests. But you can see, you can notice the request here. For some reason, it fetches all the requests and it even tells us the API, whatever will be provided. So whatever is used here, you can use this key. You can use either this key that was provided or this key that I have gotten and try to see what will happen. You see? For 4, the resource is not found. What resource is it looking for? Oh, I know it was the domain was misconfigured because the port is not the same. So we have this. Once it is able to fetch the posts, that's why I usually tend to put this flag so that I have this. We can be able to check this extra. Like, what was there? There was an A, there was a 6. We can be able to give it -G to mean a get, then that URL encode, then provide extra argument, then tell it go upwards. I think about 4 directories. 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, let me just put one for good measures. Then we tell it let's see hosts. If it is valid, then it will pass this argument here, fetching it from the query, because it assumes the frame is being passed. Then it will be able to fetch the query argument. And we have some information. Oh yeah, it passed it in the extra argument. Now our work is just to fetch, to understand which layer it is. So we have posts and we have extras, and here, so extra is in something inside, because extra has this part, but there's another bracket here. So extra is somewhere. So meta ends, yeah, so it's in meta, because meta starts here, meta ends here. So it's extra is within the meta tag. So when we pass it, we'll tell it read everything. Try to pass the meta tag. Yes. The meta tag is the one which contains that. Then I tell it the extra. Then it will fetch the value of the extra. Am I interested in the key? Recursively speaking, for the key, it's not that much. I'm not interested in that. So we can do meta.extra. Then whatever comes next, like whatever is within provided, just pick it out. So we end up with passing the correct. So we end up with arbitrary read of the system. So we have arbitrary read in the sense that we can read any file on the system, and we can just note it down. Now comes the extra part. From the blog, we get arbitrary read, and then the intranet now, because the internet had things. So the initial commit had a lot of things. There was a lot of code and just a lot of things. So to save time, my font size. Okay, so I am not sure. I typically use something around this. I don't even know. I typically use this. Yeah, just that. Yeah, I've tried my best. So this doesn't matter. The migrations did not matter that much. What I will do, I will focus on the API.rs file. But before we reach there, we need to understand a bit of, you see, a bit of how it's handling some aspects. Okay, so the main.rs, I don't use Rust. That's just me. I don't use Rust, so I don't interact much with understanding how it was integrated in the backend. But I typically know that everything begins with main somehow. So we have the main file. Then I believe this is some form of module. Isaiah could help us with Rust, but I believe this is like something like some module in the aspect of Python libraries. Yeah, so these are like libraries that contain methods, and you're able to fetch those methods. Then mod API, mod database must be more of like detailing or creating some form of packages for this particular directories. I still don't understand it, but otherwise, we notice that in this particular intranet, we have the rockets. We load the environment from the .env, just normal CSRS mapping, and we build what we call the API. So the API is built. Let me see. This is some Rust magic. So the API is built, and there's this particular endpoint, the API/dev. So we assume that it's API, then it's dev, then it's scan. So I'm assuming it's scan.rs, just from understanding the structure of how modules work. Even Python has something like api.dev.scan. This becomes like a method called scan from dev, from API dev in Python. That's how I would interpret it, but you can see it. This is the method called scan from a file called scan from a directory from this. So that's how I typically read it. So we have the request. It's just deserializing and serializing of data. When you hit this scan endpoint, so I'm building it. It's API dev scan. When you hit this API dev scan, it consumes JSON data. So JSON data, it's a post method. On this, there's a device guard. So it spawns bash with the data.url. So I'm assuming the data is JSON. So the data is something like this, then it has URL embedded inside here, and it passes it with this format. So it formats it by replacing the placeholders with the URL, then it consumes the output. So basically, this is command injection. But if you look here, there's a device guard. I think it's more of middleware, but the route exists for function. It's more of middleware. I don't know where this device guard is coming from. Let's see, it's in API dev guard. So it's in API dev device guard. Okay, so it has the device guard here. Okay, we can just come here, a bit of, okay, so it has the device. Have I copied the right thing? Yeah, so it has the device guard, and it ensures that the header that we have is just a header. It ensures that this header has the key. So it requires this key that is in this environment. So it's an environmental variable. Yeah, so you can just see that it gets the key from the header, ensures that it's this format. It then compares that key. Once the key exists, it compares that key to the device internet key variable. And once it's successful, if they're the same, then it tends to output success. So there's not much riding on there. It's just a simple device guard, or it ensures that we are of the internet network. That's what I am typically acquiring from this. So we just need the key. We just need the key, and we have command injection. Now, let's see. We call this. Now, I'll change this. The proc-based system. Let me explain some things. Hopefully, it makes sense. The proc. This proc-based system. The proc is just for processes. It contains the processes running on the machine. Each process is identified by a process ID, and the directories contain named with numbers. Now, I'll explain a bit on the environment. When you access the process self-environment, it contains null separated values, key values for the system or for the environment that is being used. That is why typically I do not want to cut mine because mine contains some secrets. So I'll in turn pass it as this. It should contain environmental variables for the process that is running, because the process it's weird. Okay, because I'm the owner, let's see. It will end up having, that's why it is somehow cluttered, because when it decodes to UTF-8, it tends to remove the null bytes. So you find something like starts with database, something that starts with database. I want to select one thing, it wants everything. The host name ends with DD, but then the database comes forward. This is another key, but there's a null byte there that is pressed by the decoding. But otherwise, this allows us to read the environment, and we end up with a key, with the internet key that we were told here. You can see it here very beautifully kept for us, database users null. So yeah, so the key is this. You have to know how to separate it from reading. There's no magic, it's just reading of this file. It's a file on the system. It contains null separated key value strings. It is, yeah, just know it contains that. The CMD line is the command that ran to spin up that process. If we read it, it tells us it ran node parent index.js. It ran that, and practically that's what's responsible. It's not particularly magic. It's just how the system is based. There's a lot of information you can get from working or interacting with the process-based system, but otherwise with the key, it can allow us to now perform the query. We know it's a post, so there's no need to specify the post, the type of argument. So we'll just come in and say HTTP. We saw it was on the intranet, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so internet that goes to be 8008. Then we saw that the path that it was being built was API dev scan, hopefully. Then we need to provide two things: content type. We need to specify JSON. Then we also need to provide the xdev internet key. I'm not sure. The xdev internet key. Then once it's provided, the device guard should be off. Now we can provide this URL. So URL, this is how JSON is written. It's typically consistent on this format. So we can just say X. Yeah, temp command. Yes, it broke the query. It broke the query and telling us command not found. That's because it was empty. Now in this man, I can just do ID. ID is not found, so I'll give it this manner internet URL. So it does not. Let me put like this and put a hash. Yes, so we end up with command injection in the output because we have put it in this format. So what happens is, let me explain this part. What happens is this part becomes bash.c. Then you have intranet URL check. Then here you have the command, your command here. What I simply did is introduce whatever comes forward here doesn't matter. And then I told bash, yeah, you're basically done. Whatever is inside here is basically done. And whatever comes next, ignore it using this comment file. So it formed this command, and whatever comes here before doesn't even matter if it errors out. If I do ID, just not found, simple. If it's not found, otherwise in the second, it always runs it as two commands because this is one command. Then the semicolon creates another command. Then the semicolon allows us to easily comment out whatever comes next. But it's not required. I can remove it and I don't think it will have an effect. I just do ID and it will still have both of them. It's just a good practice so as not to crash whatever comes forward if there are extra arguments. Yeah, it's just good practice. So once we have this, I'll spin up my Penelope. Oh my God, this is my local network. Okay, so I can just have this command. This is a reverse shell command generated by Penelope. It's just easy things. Yeah, so sorry, I pasted on the wrong side. So we put it on that side, we run it, and we have a bell. Our bell is ringing on this side. We have our bell ringing, telling us that yes, your shell has landed. And we are root on the container, I hope. Once we are root on the container, there's nothing much. Do I have SQLite 3 here? Nope, it's not here. So whatever passwords are being stored, then there's a likely chance that we're not able to access them. But otherwise, what does Penelope do? Penelope it's like Metasploit. It's more of a reverse shell handler. It allows you to handle reverse shell, file transfers. It's like a mini C2. It's small because there's no the concept of agents there, but it's like a mini C2. Yes. I would like to introduce you to Penelope. It's a shell handler. Easiest way to get stable shells. Yeah, it's the easiest way I found to get stable shells. There's not much, I swear. Yeah, it's just penetration testers. Yeah, it's just the easiest way to get stable shells these days. But we don't have those. Next, that we have found this is whereby it gets a bit magical, just a bit magical, but it always falls into understanding. Now, if you enumerate well, you'll notice that, let me see, we are lib, we have this, okay, let me go back. This is a container. I don't know what's wrong with me. We are simply in a container. We print our environment, we find the GWT secret, we find the LDAP password, we find it's telling us, what is this? Am I looking? Oh, it tells us the domain name, the LDAP bind. So it uses the common name, the internet principal user that we saw. So we can take all of this and simply just put it. Yes, if this password, this password, not this, where is it? This one. If this password is for this intranet principal, then it should work as proper domain credentials. That means that we can simply test it. Against the DC controller, and if it authenticates, then yeah, we can also test against LDAP. It will take time. Sign-in is set to off. The chances of relay from one account to the other one is highly feasible. So we are going to add our user IP, the intranet principal, and this, yeah. So let me use it. Let me just use the account. It will try to fetch the TGT, then everything. I use Kerberos. So if I do K-list, then I use that. So I typically use Kerberos for everything instead of raw passwords most of the time. It's much simpler. So we have compromised an account within the system, because now we have, how do I explain? Because now we have domain credentials, we can perform domain enumeration. This is things like fetching users, fetching all domain users, fetching bloodhound data, fetch a lot, just excessively a lot of things, because with how enumeration must be, yeah, there's typically a bound for information, but typically we have to do a lot. So once we have that, let me see. Yeah, it should start up. I have no idea if I'm praying it is not starting. If I'll just check, let me pray. It has been having this issue. Some reason it doesn't allow me to paste. Okay, so I have data here. I may have to delete it. But, I'm not using that data, so yeah, so it will start deleting it so that it can be able to give us and be able to load the data. But otherwise, the first thing I will do is fetch the users. So there are two ways you can get users. You can use bloody AD to pass the query. You can use a query. So what I typically do is fetch users. Yeah, I think fetch users, fetch interesting groups or SMB users. I do not even get users. Yeah, it's get users, then I provide the DC host name. I put a lot of things. So there is LDAP and SMB. So it checks in parallel to each other, but otherwise it finds. For LDAP, I usually do it because I am interested in the description. There are sometimes you find information has been hidden within the description, but otherwise you can just look at this. So typically what we have here is we have the domain controller account. We have another computer account called Ghostco. If let me see another machine. So if I look into this, what is this thing called? If I look into LDAP, and it's called DC list, yes, and I enumerate it, I may be able to find interesting. It fetches it and tells us, yes, there's another DC within that forest. Primary.core.ghost.htb. It's bidirectional, meaning they trust each other. That means core.ghost.htb is most likely a child of the ghost.htb domain. So the DC01 is a parent to the core.ghost.htb. This is what we call intra-relationship. I'm not sure exactly on it, but I believe so. Yeah, it's what I call intra-forest trust abuse. I have not finished completely, but depending on how you can be able to lateral move, then you can be able to assume either permissions on each other, but it's required to be done. But otherwise, it leaks the IP. This is our IP. Then it tells us that within the internet or within that particular forest, we have another DC. It is a secondary DC, and it's the DC belonging to the core.ghost.htb subdomain, not subdomain, more of like a child domain. So we have two domains within this forest. So we have the parent domain, which is the ghost.htb, and we have a child domain, which is the core.ghost.htb. And it's by direction, so they trust each other. So after we find the users, we can fetch Bloodhound data. I do not remember what I put under Bloodhound data. Let me see if I can remember. Oh, I did not put anything. I just put Rusthound. So that Rusthound can run. It will try to fetch all attributes faster. This is the Kerberos level, so it's configured in a way that it understands it. Once it's done collecting all the data, I will now prepare the data. Yeah, so it unzips it. Don't worry whatever is happening here. So it tells us that the GMSA account for the Federation service is part of the remote management users. Justin has the capability of reading their password, and they are a member of IT, and they're also members of the remote management users. This tool is called Griffon. Yeah, it was made by some person called Invictus. Where am I? Send it here. Yeah, you can look at it. It's just to help summarize Bloodhound information. I typically use it just to summarize it, but it's done. The Bloodhound is done, and we know that Justin can read this particular password, but otherwise we can continue enumeration. I believe you there's nothing much you'll find there. So let me log into my home directory. You'll find the .ssh, which is weird for Linux containers. Linux containers don't have a SSH directory by default. But when you come here, you'll find that we have a configuration, known hosts, and a directory called control master. I believe this is, if we touch the config, it tells us that the control path, I did not fully understand this by the time I was doing it, but I believe it's a guide over how the configuration is set up for SSH, such that the configuration file will use the control master directory in order to SSH. Then the non-host will self contains, it's just SSH standards. It will contain public keys of users who have authenticated to the system. So one of these public keys, if you have to dissect it, you'll be able to find maybe potential users, but yeah, these are just keys in nature. So we can look at the control master, because by default, if you search SSH control master, it's just a feature by itself. It allows multiple SSH sessions over a single persistent network connection. I believe you are just trying to tell us you can SSH. And then we find this socket. This is a socket because they usually have very special permissions that Florence.Ramirez at this workstation on port 22 is able to SSH inside. So we can just come to SSH, paste whatever is there, remove the 22. You don't need for it because I'm pretty sure it will understand it. And because the control master by default allows this socket to be able, it will be able to provide us authentication to the system as this particular user without having to worry much about it. So we are able to log in as Florence.Ramirez. If we run sudo-l, we don't even have sudo. I wonder which container is this. What is this? Is this a WSL? No, it's another Docker environment. So we have another Docker environment. We do not have much permissions, but we are members of the IT group. So I'm guessing it's domain bound. So when you go to the temp directory, you'll notice that we have this. We have this file. It's a Ccache file. It's a Ccache files. They are usually named like that. They are named KRB5CC, then the ID of that user. That's why when I run ID, I'm user ID 50. It's usually named in that form. So if I cut it, it's going to be bytes. So I'll just be 60 to encode it, and then it ends there. Yes, now instead of Kirby, I have Ccache. And if I do playlist, I am locked there. So I'll just set my KRB5 PC name into PD extract Ccache. Then I'll do playlists. I'll see that now it ties to the Florence.Ramirez account. It's a TGT. That means that I can be able to ask for any other service within the domain because as this particular user, since it's a TGT, TGTs are always above TGS because TGTs they possess the capability of authenticating the user. They should issue the TGT, which is signed by the KDC. If you wish to ask for a TGS, you must validate your authenticity by providing the TGT, because what you do is you tell the KDC, here's my authenticity, or here's my identity, and the KDC validates the TGT. Then the KDC asks the service to give you a TGS. So it asks it, I'll generate, not ask it particularly, but rather it does it willingly or unwillingly. It does it by default. Just takes the key from the Kerberos key for that service, then creates a ticket and then signs that ticket using that service's key. That's why it's a TGS. Yeah, it's basically that. It does not have much information there, but once you have the TGT, you can always request for TGS and other services, etc., etc. So I have not changed my user. I have not even validated. We have things like shadow credentials, but typically when I'm in this condition, I don't mind it a lot. But we can look what this Florence.Ramirez can do. Let me go here. Power view. Power view. Let me remove this. Florence.Ramirez. Let me see if it works. God, I pray it works. Oh, yes, it has worked. Now we have connected as Florence.Ramirez, then say get domain objects, SELs. Access control lists are able to keep permissions for particular users. This means that special things that my user can do, that's what I'm interested in. That's why we tell it to get the domain object SEL. Then we tell it the security identifier. This is the person who is in charge of that or who is responsible of that particular control list. Then I give it. Then I don't think I need the codes. So okay, so let it pass, and I have nothing. Okay, let me look at the IT group because I believe IT group was there. Nothing. What am I? Am I a staff member? I'm a staff member. I'm an IT member also. Okay, let me confirm through Bloodhound. I always check in back just in case I've left the meeting and I'm not known. So we know we have IT users. IT users have not been high listed to do outbound object controls. Florence, let's see if she has something. She has nothing, but the members of IT, only IT. Okay, so I think it's the IT group who have some special permission. But I have no idea why it's not giving me anything. Maybe there is no particular list. There's nothing there. But I can come back to this. There was a forum, by the way. So the forum was disclosing that they are migrating posts from the old internet. Then we have this. Hello, I tried to connect to bitbucket.ghost.htb, but it doesn't work. Any idea why? I have a script that checks the pipeline and it works in Git. I tried adapting it to Bitbucket and it works locally, but I can't test it on our servers. Then, so we are told that the DNS entry is not configured. Let me test something. Maybe it's working. Just that. Yes, there's something with the ACLs. Because, okay, so what we have here is there's a user called Justin who has written a script to validate this particular endpoint, but the DNS entry has not been configured. So if this particular user of ours is a member of the IT, we would assume that they have the capabilities of manipulating entries such as the DNS entry. And if Justin is trying to authenticate, the script may be because of how Microsoft works. Microsoft tends to perform, like I said, when it reaches out to URLs, this is why it's usually very dangerous, especially intranet zoned. This is like intranet zone is DNS entries or things that are within its DNS entries. It tends to perform authentication. For some reason, it always sends the NTLM-v2 hash and tries to authenticate because it thinks it's accessing a resource on its local network. So it tries to perform authentication. That's why immediately DNS, it's very sensitive and it should always be left or configured under DNS admins. By default, every user has the capability of manipulating the DNS. So in an Active Directory environment, you should always configure the environment such that these particular entries are always left to DNS admins and not the local users. So in this particular aspect of the IT, we can assume that we can do DNS add, then I give it DC2. What was this? This is something else. I doubt. Let me see. The host name that we would like to add and the IP. I think I was just testing my own things. Do not think that will help you anywhere. It has no idea. And we can now change this and point it to our own local machine. And then let's see, it tells us all attribute another. It's just something that is based on the, I believe, not DNS spy. Kerberos relay X, which does, it has the DNS tool. It is the one responsible for that. We do not have a username. We have. Does it have Kerberos? It has. Then the goal is to add a DNS entry, but we can query it first. And we give it Bitbucket or hostname. Let's give it the DC hostname. Domain. I usually hate it over this. Oh, I changed mine because I found it weird. Okay, it binds to the host name, it binds the record is not found. So if the record is not found, that means that the DNS was never configured. And we can now change this, add this, then we tell it what is this? There's something missing here. D, the record data, the value that we're supposed to do. So I'll just put done, then I give it the DSA, the host name. Then on this side, I'll start up responder on my current device. Then to listen for any events, we can add it. It binds okay. Ugh. What is this? The CIP. Now that it's done, let me query for this. Is it query? Yeah, now what? Oh, okay, we got it. It seems to be deleted. It gets it, then it deletes it so that it allows people to change it. I'm guessing it was like a cleanup script, but using this hash, we can just put this and then hash. That's a bit long. Yeah, let me just use the raw queue because that's what the box uses. Any cracking of hashes, you typically have to do it through raw queue. So let us see. Okay, it cracked it. Let me explain a bit. When you capture an NTLM version 2 hash, you have two choices. You have the choice of relay or cracking it. When you relay this particular hash, you cannot relay it to the same machine it originated from. For example, this originated from the DC. We cannot send it back to the DC. That's called reflection, and Windows has mitigations for that. But then they discovered there was a way you could work around it by abusing DNS entries to trick the server into giving you an NTLM hash that can authenticate to itself. So Microsoft had to patch that, and they called it NTLM reflection. That was one of the surrounding things. Don't worry. Don't worry. This is what we call it's some form of DNS hijacking, but not exactly. It's more because what happens is this user is pinging a DNS entry that does not exist. So we maliciously add ours. So now that the DNS entry exists, and then when they hit it, the Microsoft, for some reason with intranet zones, it tends to perform authentication by default. It trusts this zone. It trusts that this place is a safe place. I can authenticate with it, because you can only add DNS entries if you actually belong there. So it trusts this is a safe place. You can be able to do that. So it tries to perform authentication, and this is what it's doing. This is how it authenticates. It sends the NTLM version 2 hash where it's doing the authentication. If I had my own server, we would respond back by agreeing, yeah, by performing the client handshake thing, and then we will be able to authenticate this user. But our goal was not that. Our goal was just to derive this NTLM version 2 hash, which is signed. It is created using the password of that user. That's why if this was not a weak password, then it would not crack, because it's signed. Then there are aspects of it, there are certain areas of it that contains timestamps. If it decodes correctly, then we can find that timestamp. And typically that's what usually happens. So once we get this, see unset, let me unset it. I do not wish to have it. We can take this password and add it to Justin Bradley. But to be honest, this machine is insane. It has a lot of steps, and we can just use it. There's no point. And we have successful fetch of the TGT. That's how I just know it's a success password. So we are now Justin.Bradley user. We saw that Justin.Bradley. Let me see. We have blood output, then it's called what? Griffon. Yeah, if Justin.Bradley belongs to remote management users, and they can read the GMSA password for the ADFS. Okay, so this place, I can do quick WinRM. It's configured. Everything is configured to know how it works, so that I can just WinRM inside. So I have this, and immediately we are noticed our PowerShell. And do things like whoami, stock all. Then we have these permissions, everything, but we do not have dangerous permissions. We just have default ones. I can log this person out. I don't know what is this. No pass, web, port. I don't remember enabling. I don't remember enabling debug mode. Okay, yeah, it failed. As I wanted it. Yeah, so we can just do that. Yeah, so we are this user, and we can read the GMSA. There's so many ways, I believe, GMSA or get GMSA or something. GMSA, get GMSA. It fetches this one and the password in the hex. Yeah. It tells us, yeah, this user can really, this is the password for the ADFS GMSA account. That's one way to do it. This is just one way to do it. You're supposed to be as conversant with as many tools as possible. The next way that you can do it is you can also use netexec. Netexec will also fetch it. You'll find out that they're the same. There's nothing that will change here. You see? Basically the same thing. Password is the same. Now, if you are in a situation whereby you could not use NTLM for authentication, you would be forced to use the Kerberos key responsible for it, which was the scenario with a machine, another one. So there's something I did. I don't fully remember. I remember it's bloody AD. This was something else. I was doing another machine. It has something to do with bloody AD. So let me see. Yeah, just this part is okay. Targets. Oh, the target changed. Oh, what is up with this? It's the DCIP. It provides this blob. If you take this blob and there's a tool I wrote, yeah, so if I provide this blob, it won't help you a lot because even if I give you the sum is the exact way it's supposed to be written. This thing is so sensitive. Let me see how this one wrote it. This is the sum account name. This is how it's exactly supposed to be written. The domain is HTB because the domain is also required. It generates this 256 key. If I do LDAP ECHM, I provide it with ADFS, GMSA, then I believe it's a --AS key. I'm not sure. It has one. I didn't forget the command. Dash P, yes, it's capital. What is this? LDAP user. What's happening? Let exec LDAP unrecognized argument. Is it double? Yeah, you can provide it, and if it's a valid yes key, then it will be able to authenticate. You should be able to know how to craft the Kerberos keys just from having the password. Yeah, it's supposed to be. For me, I usually just paste it, and then I provide the sum name exactly the way it's supposed to be, and the domain name, and it provides me the key because it needs to craft the salt, and then it does some magic with this in order to pass it correctly. But this is the password apparently. It is a bytes format because the GMSA stands for Group Management Service Accounts. Their passwords are auto-rotated by the system every 20-something. Will never stay the same. They are rotated so that only one particular user can read that account. That's why they are group managed in nature. You can read the password of that you wish to use the credentials. Typically, the passwords are never meant to be read by the human eyes, but NTLM, AES makes things simple and you won't have issues. So now that we have those two accounts, we have the ADFS account. And once we have this, I can just add it, AG, ADFS, GMSA. This is the key, and I can tell to use it. Yeah, so it fetched the TGT. Then quick WinRM, it should send me as the ADFS GMSA account. Have I skipped user? I don't know where user is. Oh, I think I skipped user. My bad. But I have done until user. So if you have questions until then, you can ask. Because the next step is a bit heavy on AD.
Guys, feel free to ask any question whatsoever.
Yes, you are free to ask any question. It's you guys who are learning. I did this a long time ago. I just exploited command injection, read a few Rust files. There was nothing much. I don't do magic. Even the scripts that I'm running here, they are in my repository. Like, let me see. In my repository where I keep, I pray there's nothing sensitive that I'm sharing to almost, I don't know how many people. Okay, so there's nothing sensitive. Okay, so, nope, 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 nope. Hold up. It must have been in one of those. Yeah, this one, the Kerberos key calculator. I last updated it about 7 months. I have not gotten time to fix the thing, but it's basically here. I mean, it's not information overload. I will not lie to you. There's not a lot of things that is happening. This is the Kerberos key calculator. I have not updated the README, but in time I will, because it contains the capability of calculating solves and what you can use it anytime you wish. But typically I use it that aspect if I do. What is this user? I want to list my users. I even forgot users something. I wrote a lot of things, then I forgot user lists. Users. Oh, no, that's just a password. I wrote a lot of things. Gets or something. I don't know. Maybe it's just something there. I wrote much. It should be there also. Users. I don't know. I'll find. Yes.
I see, yeah, I see Absorb has a question.
Do you tell if it's LDAP, SQL injection, or do it test stuff until one works? Okay, you tell it's LDAP when you're working in an Active Directory environment. You understand? When you are dealing in a domain-based environment, you test LDAP because you're in a domain-based environment. But if you are working in are things that are most likely Linux systems, then you mostly check for SQL injection. If not SQL, then you check for no SQL injection also. But in short, we always test everything until something sticks, you know? We throw until something sticks.
Oh, Absorb, I hope that he's been able to answer your question. Oh, Claude.
Okay.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we thought that we lost you for a moment.
No, I am around. I am just answering a bit of questions. So, okay. So the next thing I will do, I'll come to this. I am back here. I can click this and it refreshes and tells us, yes, you are in the Ghost Federation. So there was not much there. So I keep forgetting Active Directory Federation Services.
Oh, Absorber has another question.
Yes. Okay, let me see. Most of the commands you run, are they customs? Yes, they are custom scripts. It's an entire customs framework that needs to be redone. I need to redo it again so that I fix those interdomain things. When you're dealing, is it in GitHub? No, no, I am afraid not. I am afraid not. It's very hard to port something that doesn't work to GitHub. It's just know that it's there on my thing for me to move fast, and you can always write yours. So we come here. The Ghost Federation is a domain type thing. It's an, like I've shown you, it's an SSO based solution used for Active Directory so that you can access other services such as external cloud applications, internal web services securely. So it's more of, it allows you to provide some form of authentication. So we can come in with Justin.Bradley at ghost.htb. Rate ghost. And then with their password. Oh, CRLS. That's what I was looking for. And then you come here. Well, no. Reload. Let's see. But then, what was I doing here, by the way? How did I even land here? What did I click to land here? Okay, I was trying to access the code.ghost, but then it's redirected me and tells me, sorry, this page is only currently available to the administrator. You're logged in as Justin.Bradley. So it is able to identify who we are and tells us that, yeah, you need to be admin for this. So we come to Active Directory Federation Services. Unfortunately, this is the only thing I do not have notes on. I have notes on nearly everything here except ADFS because I was just leaving it. But I was growing my notes. So I may have left it. But otherwise, it is a single SSL. So there's a way to exploit it. Active Directory Federation Services relies on cryptographic systems. Because it relies on cryptographic systems, they bound to use what we call asymmetric encryption, whereby we have a public key and a private key, whereby we encrypt data using public keys and we decrypt data using private keys, which are mathematically conjoined. They're mathematically conjoined such that it is easier to derive a public key from a private key, but it is very difficult to derive a private key from a public key. So you can go from a public key, from a private key into a public key very easy. But when you're trying to do the other way, it's very hard. Very hard. So this is called an intractable problem. And it's a trapdoor function by nature. So typically an Active Directory has this the Federation Services tends to use asymmetric encryption. Because of that, we can do what we call a golden SAML attack. Even forgot I was here. Let's see what it is. It's a post-compromise technique where you steal the private key and the public certificate for a federated identity provider, such as the ADFS, the Microsoft ADFS. With that private key, you can forge cryptographically valid security assertion markup language tokens to impersonate any corporate identity. This is called the golden SAML attack. Since why has it copied all of this? What is this? How did it even get there? Let me see. Let me copy there. Yes, I only did this. What happens is that if you are able to compromise the private key, you are able to forge the identity of any user. I hope that is understood. What are you using to make your notes? Which notes? These notes. This is Obsidian. This is just VS Code at its best form. So the items required to acquire these things, we require what we call let me Google it. So that I show you. Where was I reading this thing?
Oh, there was also another question.
Which question? I can't find it. Okay, share the notes, please.
Up there. There's also another question. Yeah, by hackathon.
Who is it? How
if
do you
go
decide
up
what to
list.
Oh, in an Active Directory environment, you just, is it this one for enumerating the many open ports? Or what do you use to write script? Because I try, but I'm only able to write simple scripts, not complex. When you use AI, it just hallucinates. Oh, my brother, I understand your problems and I empathize with you. I am more of a traditional coder. I came pre-AI, so I am used to writing scripts normally. So when the AI hallucinates, even when I am confirming things, I typically have to test line by line, function by function, if the function performs what is my original goal. If it does not, we go back to the drawing board and redesign the function or the functionality. So what to enumerate first? Okay, it depends with what available ports are there. If port 80, those HTTP ports are open, I enumerate those first in place of an Active Directory environment. But if you're already given credentials, there's no need to enumerate them at the beginning, but you just test them against the domain. If they are valid, you proceed until maybe. What's our end goal? Isn't it root? It has always been root. Our end goal is just learning, because it's not about the destination, but rather about the journey itself. So it's my notes. How do I share these notes? You know, I've been asked to share notes, but I don't know how to share notes. These things aren't exactly in one thing per se. They're in different files, and some of them have images. They are very difficult to share. So when I find the time, I will find a way into, I can extract it into my site and I will share the link to my site. It is much easier. And then I'll have to find some things to update. Yeah, something surrounding that. Let me see. Where are we? We're in ADFS, but we are not proceed. So let us proceed. So to abuse this, we need two things. It's just some protocol that speaks XML, doesn't have much, but they were trying to explain to us. I'm looking for what we require to perform this attack. But now this one is in the context of AWS. For us, we only need these two things: the token sign-in private key and the public certificates. We do not need much. because this one is targeting AWS. Of course, you need also these two, but this one are already in your head. The role name, role to assume, the domain, the username. You just administrator. These ones are easy. These ones are the ones we do not have. So where do we get these keys? I believe there was like there was a dumper. There was like a dump or something. ADFS dump. Yeah, they had a dumper, and then I used this. I do not know where my copy is. Where did they keep my copy? I think I'll find it here if I just go up one directory. ADFS dumper. Do I have it? I have here, yeah, this one. Okay, so we don't, yeah, we have this binary that can be able to be uploaded and dump. So where am I? Okay, so it's here in the same directory. Yeah, let's see. Upload. I give it this, then it will first upload it. Okay, so we can run it. Let's just run it, and because we are the GMSA account that manages the Active Direction Federation services, we can be able to run the dump and read into the network. Now we have this. That's what I hate. Certificate value. Then it has this one, the metadata that is responsible for it. And then it has the claims. Basically, it has a bunch of things. Okay. Just a while. This is something I'm confirming from in this particular format because it has it. Okay, Federation Services Trust. Then we have the sign-in endpoints. So this is whereby the particular aspect, the SAML response is sent. If I check in my HTTP history and we go to that particular endpoint, we notice that we sent the SAML response in form of a page 64 into this particular endpoint, the post response. This is responsible for handling it. Then we have, there's something in my eye, so I'm trying to see. I'm wondering where it is because I spent a chunk of time looking at it. You see? No, it doesn't have it. Now, this secondary, the items that we need. We have this manner you have to test both keys. I did not know which one worked until I tested both. So we then we said replace these things so that I get the hex key. Then I decrypt it using this. Then I write it into private key 1, then private key 2. This I did not know which one worked, so I had to test both of them so that I have two keys here, private key 1 and private key 2, both with 32 bytes. And we have this. Then it says it does not work, but it will work. So when I was constructing the schema, I needed something so that forced me to go, yeah, it was this one, this particular aspect that forged its way around the UPN, if I am not mistaken, such that it allowed me to provide the name ID format that is required. Now, this one I found in Stack Overflow when I was doing SAML name your ID format, name ID format, Stack Overflow. Oh, please, let me see. The person was explaining, and I don't think it's this guy, but there's someone who explained how it is. They explained, yeah, you said I'm trying to use this, but they need this format. It needed the URN, the OASIS, the names, then the version of the SAML. This part was fixed. Yeah, it was whatever came next was the issue, particularly for me. And the person who saved me, let me see, was I tried a bunch of things. I'm trying to find that one. Let me see if, oh yeah, it was this one, I think. Name format, name, no. Yeah, it was this one with maybe, I don't know if I used a bit of AI because this machine came out a long time ago. Hopefully I can get the right one. The only problem is the internet is too wide. Well, I do not know where it is, but I remember it was from Stack Overflow, one of them. And they had pretty much, you require this part until this part. Yeah. It's whatever just comes next that changes a bit, just a bit. Then it was bearer. Because I'll explain a bit. We saw that this particular point operates, it's the name ID. It's the name ID format. The name ID format is CM, which stands for the common name, which is, I just know it stands for the common name. It is identified like that for some reason with this particular thing. But you know it stands for the common name and it holds that particular endpoint. The bearer is something that comes with this CM. When you CM, it comes with a bearer or something. That's what I remember, if I'm not mistaken. Please, if anyone is a more experienced, is there defending this machine? I'm pretty sure there was defender, but it was, I'm not sure if it was on the child or what. I'm not sure, but it's there. Okay. So once we have this, we use a tool called ADFS spoof. Yeah, it's a very good tool that allows you to spoof. So we have these tools and we have a requirements.txt. So what will happen is we'll come here and do uv.version environment, uv no source, and uv pip install, deactivate. Let me remove this .env. Confuse, exploit, git clone, into edit spoof, then uv, yes, source, yes, then pip install, uv pip install, HR requirements.txt. It will resolve the dependencies within it and install for us very fast. Oh, it must be my Python version. It's something to do with my Python version. I remember there was like some Python thing. Oh, also, let me, I think I found it. Oasis open org security slash version 2.0 SAML core os.pdf and page 81. Yeah, so page 81. There was this thing, yeah. It had everything. It is the one which said it's consent unavailable, consent available. And then it says the consent identifiers obtained prior, current implicit, and available. I believe this is the transient identifier, but it had a lot. The persistent one, the principal name for Kerberos, if we're using Kerberos, but because as we were using Bearer, we could have email address, basic, that was also there, unspecified. There were a lot of URIs, but for me, mine that worked was Bearer. So I'm not sure where it is. I remember I got it from here. Yeah, hopefully we'll find it. But otherwise, it just comes to that. Let me see what the issue is with this. Okay, so I know the issue. I'll deactivate it, remove the virtual environment, dash Python 3.8. Okay, so let it download. Yeah, so then UV pip install me. Yeah, so now it should work. So once we reach here, we can now check ADFS proof. Now we provided the blob. Oh my God, it's on this side. The encryption.blob, the bin, this is now the blob or the certificate if we add it. But as we extracted the blob, then we tell it that the blob follows, but then we also need the private key. We also need the private key. We can use one or two until one works, so we can test one for now. Then we tell it we're doing SAML2. SAML2, the endpoint. The endpoint we just got from this. Then the name ID formats. The name ID formats. This thing has a lot of things. The name ID formats, which we have is this, the common name, URN bearer, then the name ID of the user we want to impersonate, administrator at ghost.htb. Then it requires every single thing here. The RPID identifier. For me, I guess from the example, I guess it's just this one, only the URL responsible for it. Okay. Assertions. These assertions are this things that were being thrown here. They were where was it? Accelerated data contract, fresh authentication. Okay, this comes from playing with this thing. So we have the XML. We know we require IUPN, a user principal name. So I don't know how to get this without having to type, but it's, let's see if they have it in the tool. Do they have it? Are they lenient enough to do an example? Yes, they have an assertions. Let's do this. Okay, so I'll just change a few things. Claims, instead of doing it against the email address, I'll do it against the user principal name, and then I'll change it from this to administrator at ghost.htb. Okay, so I also need something else for the common name in order for us to be able to use. It's basically this again. It's this part again, but then so org claims, then the common name, so that we can be able to use it. Then here it's just administrator. Yeah, so this becomes our interpreted example. So if you're generating a token, you must apply the federation service. Then specify it. Okay, so we must provide the server. I just provide the domain. Oh my God. Okay. The key is wrong. So let me change to 2. Okay, the 2 works. 2 works. So it's 2 is the correct one. Now it has this blob. We just pick it. How do I log out of this? How do I even reach here? Federation or something, and then there was some magic with some requests. Okay, so let's cancel this. Okay, I can be answering some questions as I figure out what is happening here. So it authenticates me, but sorry, this page you are currently logged in as. Where is the unlogging part? Logout, please be there. Okay, it does not provide a logout. So we need to just kill our cookies. Maybe I'll just delete them. Once we delete them, it will log in using ADF Federation. And then ADF Federation has cookies as well. What I'll do is simple. Because I'm guessing the Federation has done this. Delete all. Then I'll forward the request. Then the request you are logged in as. Who am I logged in as? No one. So it's not helping me at all. So let's see, delete all. Okay, so let's see. Then login using that, and accept that, then forward. Well, this is where it's a bit blimey. It sets this cookie, and I have no interest in storing cookies. I'm going to delete this and then forward. Yes. I'll just guess E at X dot Y, B dot Z or something. Then, okay, what I'll do, I'll just do Justin again. Justin or Bradley at Boost. And then I will come here, paste, sign in. I've made this forward. Let me see. I should have chosen capture response. Oh, it's doing now the post. Now, when it does this post, I come here with mine. I get this, and then I paste it. So I paste that, and I forward that, and I forward that, I forward that. Just turn it off. Yes, finally. Wow, guy. What has happened is we have simply just abused cryptographic signatures to forge a SAML response targeting it. What is required mostly is this assertion, the name ID and the name ID format. Because I used the common name, I needed to introduce an attribute for the common name to decode it to the administrator. I also had to introduce the user principal name just in case it required it. But otherwise, that technically was it. Now that I am here, I forgot what I'm supposed to do. Okay, so let's begin slow. Let's select the server name. Yeah, I end up with DC01. So this is the I am here. Yeah. Then let us select the current user. The web client. I am the web client. Okay, then let us check for the linked servers because they tell us that the databases are linked. The child is linked correctly. If you're wondering how I'm getting all of this, I am not a magician. So I typically have, these ones are for short things. I get in a shell, I never fully finished this thing, but it basically has as much as I would like it to have, but I will add more. That's what I'm saying, my notes are not complete. So we have two servers. We have DC01 and we have primary. Because primary is the DC to code that goes to HTB, so they are linked correctly. So if we do, let us check, since we have noticed that we're already on the DC01, we can check and see. Should I check if we can be able to perform? We can enable things like XPMD shell, but I'm on the DC. Am I the administrator? No, I'm the web client user. So I cannot read. Oh, I wish this was Kerberos. It would have been so much better. Okay, so we clear this. SQL. Let us just check exec. Then we give it the subquery we want to exec, and then on which server, at this server. Then inside here, we'll tell it execute, no, select current user. And we run it. Let's see if it, yeah, so the user is bridge core. So we have bridge core. I'm guessing this is another user in their domain. Then can we execute as, can you execute as the login equals to SA? Then we select system user who is using the system for us on the DC. Let me see. Oh, cannot execute at this symbol because it does not exist, or I do not have permission to impersonate them. So can the same be applied at the primary? So we come here, we take this, we come, because of how this code works, usually need to, I don't know, it's just something that works with it. Okay, so now we are the, you can impersonate this user, the bridge core user can impersonate the, I always believe SA stands for sub authority. You may know them as the DBO, the database owner, but I always believe it's the sub authority. It's more of like root in MS SQL instances. So if you execute as the sub authority, you're basically root in MS SQL. So if you're root in MS SQL on primary, so works, then maybe we can be able to perform something like a reverse shell and the piggy bank of the child domain and C. So let's see, works. So this works. We can come here and grow the query. I'll split this query into three, I believe so, three. One thing we will execute as the login, then we will enable, not enable, sorry, exec sp configure, then show advanced options. This is to allow us to see options such as XP CMD shell and XP directory, depends. So we tell it to enable it, to show it. Now, this is how you enable it. We configure it by saying, yeah, these advanced options should be enabled. Then we run reconfigure so that the system can accommodate those changes. Then we run XP exec sp configure XP CMD shell. We set it to 1. Then we reconfigure again. Then we finally execute the XP shell. It's usually when it's done through automated tools. Let me see. When it's done through automated tools, it's usually less hectic, but typically this is what that thing does. So in the end, we end up with anti-service MS SQL server. Once we have this, we can be able to execute commands on, oh yes, we can be able to execute commands on the MS SQL server. And let's see if we can get a reverse shell. Now, we can do PowerShell. And I provide it with the encoded. Or I think that's right. Then LOP, do your magic. Is it F12? Payloads. One of the things it has is this capability of generating payload. Let me move away from there. Just that I know very well if I paste this, let's see. Yeah, it's too long. Since it's too long, I'll just shorten it into PowerShell IEX, then object, its new object, net.web client, download string, HTTP, and I don't even know my IP guide. So 10, 14.7. Then I tell it rep.ps1. Then I come here. Export reverse IP is that. Export is that. Now it's listening on that. If I call my turn reverse.ps1, I have this. It's a reverse shell that allows me. It just allows me to get a reverse shell. So download string. Yeah, so I believe this should work, hopefully. Let's see if it goes well. Yes, rep.ps1. It's executing. It's executing something. I need it, really. No, I don't. I do not think I need it. I do not need it. So I'll wrap. Let's see. Ugh. God help me. Let me see. Oh my God.
Oh, could it be having an anti? Like, could Windows Defender be breaking that connection?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Right. So what I'll do is, I'll come here. Let me deactivate this. So I'll enter into this. Then what I'll do is do opt AB tools. Yeah, I'll prepare my reverse shell. Done 9001. Yeah, yes. So I'll put my reverse shell here. There's some obfuscation, just things, standard things. Then I'll tell it, okay. Then I'll tell it this. Where is this? Yeah, I'll remove all this. Call 10, 14, 227, I believe so. 227, I'll tell it to call rep2.exe and output it at, do I think this will work? No. CMD. Let's see, maybe this now can work. I'll put it at, I don't want to break the syntax. This is sensitive, yes. This is the one not sensitive. Yeah, let me test this out first. I see if it works. If it doesn't work, where is it? Yes. Aim for it. Okay, now that it has it, is my reverse shell ready? It's just listening. Okay, so I tell my program CMD start this. Okay. Yeah, it should start, hopefully. Yep. Yeah, now we have shell. Wait. Okay. Is there defend on this machine? The best way.
Yeah, but try to check. But if I can remember, I think
there was defender on the primary one. There was defender. Let me just check, confirm it with mimikatz.
Or if you type in like a signature code, like log mimic.
That string thing. Let's see. If it fails, yeah, it has defender. There's defender on this machine. That's why Oh my god. It makes sense because there's no issue. I learned, or like an interpreter could be AMSI. Okay, well, what I did is I used custom loaders. I made my own custom obfuscation. I typically don't share them, so I use them for this. Yeah, the AMSI, mine ensures like to patch the AMSI, the AVTX logs, and then finally it routes. But yeah, let's route this machine. So where is this? It's in the DC. It's what? It's cross-platform, and then okay, let me see. Ping dash 10 and then 10.0.0.10. Where LDAP? I don't even know why I am going that far. DC list. Okay, let's see. It's not that complicated. Everything that I've shown you, it's not complicated. It's just following. So it's this. Okay, so I was right. Let me see if it can ping it. Oh, yes. If it can ping it, then I can access the DC. Okay. I'm trying to understand if which network is this? Like the config all. This is the HTB network. Then we have 10.10.10.2. What is the mask of this? Oh, this network. This is the network I'm looking for. It has a mask of 2250. That means that 8 to 56. Yes. 8. Yeah. It's correct. So what now I'll do is I'll come to the write up, sudo bigolo mp. I'll log in as the administrator. Then I'll generate a new one. Agent.exe servers 14.7 11601. Then proxy windows skate not necessary. So instead of agents, LD, we call it LMP.exe. LMP, yeah, it's generated. So you can install 18.7 LMP.exe. Yeah, let's move. Then I use that process to background processes. I usually use that process to background processes. So I usually have start process, I believe so, file path. Then I have something like lmp.exe. Okay, so once it's done, it's about 6 MB, if I'm not mistaken. Is LMP. Yeah, it's about 5 megabytes, so it's another half.
In the meantime, guys, feel free to ask any question. I see
Yes.
Joker has a question.
Oh,
which terminal?
I think it's just Kitty. It's just Kitty. It's Kitty. Just Just that one. I use Kitty on Hyperland. So once it's done, I can start the process. Once the process is started, please come. Yes. Yes, add a route. This 10.0.0.0 plus 24. 10.0, yeah, it's correct. Priority, yes, yes, submit. Route added, start relay. Okay, now I can do something like an submit 10.0.0.0. Nope, I have, that's basically suicide. So yes, yes, this is now the primary DC. Once we have the primary DC, within our reach, we can be able to, what do I do? We can be able to abuse, where am I even? I'm so lost. I have a lot of things. Okay, where am I? Stroke all. We notice that we have a impersonate privilege. It's enabled. It's enabled. This impersonate privilege allows us to obtain a God tier token by abusing God Potato. What happens is that impersonate is a privilege that allows you to impersonate or copy tokens of other accounts to perform processes such as them. This permission is usually given to accounts that want to impersonate other users across services so as to be able to fetch certain services. For example, it wishes to impersonate a web user so that it can be able to fetch some web resources, or it wishes to impersonate maybe another database user who has other extra resources. They're usually given to these accounts. By default, these accounts are never catered to be compromised. So when they're compromised, it usually leads to a lot of problems within that particular domain, because this privilege is enabled by default on MS SQL accounts. It is enabled by default on web service accounts. So it's typically one dangerous hazard within Active Directory environment. So what I'll do is I'll prepare the God Potato. I don't even remember, did I use this? I remember I used godp or something, then I tell it to execute the program data shell, and then it spawned a shell for me. I can't tell it again. I just tell it to.exe, cp op. Yeah, I copy God Potato. Okay. Then I tell it this, it creates godpx.exe, but then this was LRAP, so I need another LRAP. I need another LRAP because that is taken. Then not this. Okay, it should come through. Once I execute it, it should execute. Let's see. Oh. Lol. Must have been some weird magic. Okay, so it executes, it impersonates. Maybe it's something. Oh. Shells. Am I right? Okay, maybe it's how I made the process. But it's struggling. It's struggling. Let me fix this real quick. What is it? Privilege escalation. Let me just do this. I am on the operating system, but oh my god. Let me just add this user. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to slash add. Okay, what happens is this thing is slightly unstable. Usually unstable, so I don't keep the shell for long. What I do is add a user, an administrative user, then once it adds that user with a password, I add myself to the administrators, then kill the shell and allow this thing to breathe. Yeah, once it's done, I can do net users, net user fit, I believe so. Okay, yeah, they have sent that. They have sent this abusing tokens. You can use this. Oh my lord. Oh my lord. Help me. I would like to kindly to allow people to retire to bed. It's messy. It's messy. You know, if this doesn't work, we can just take it at face value. And come here, do user, then pip, then password, then we tell it, oh, this is a local user only. Just do that. Yes, we are a member of domain administrators. Okay, let me kill this. This should free this process. Status, logon failure, and why is that? You see, the user exists, but which, okay. I don't think there's a domain user by that name, so I'm not sure how it's trying to authenticate. Okay, so there's a domain user. Oh, that makes sense. I am a member of the domain users. But if we are a member of domain users, we have the admin count, then what is remaining is to do secrets dump. We do secrets dump. Then we do code post.htb, and this password at, and then this your. Because of how special ZSH treats it, we run that. Now we wait. So questions. Do you have questions? Because once I compromise the child domain, I will abuse this method. Services, this intra-forest trust abuse, forging a golden ticket across the realm, abusing an inter-realm trust key. What I will do is I will abuse something called raise child, where we raise the child to an elevated position. It is something with how domains are usually joined. If they are joined together, you can be able to carry on the security descriptors. They're called the SDs, the security descriptors to the upper domain, because the Kerberos of the parent will trust the Kerberos ticket that has been issued by the child. And since we are able to compromise the child DC, we are able to acquire the child's Kerberos key. We get the Kerberos key for the child and forge an inter-realm trust TGT, which contains the security descriptors belonging to the parent seed. That way we are able to raise the child to the elevated position. I believe it's a common technique when you're doing inter-realm trust abuse, when you are abusing realm trust things. Are there any questions? I am taking questions. Oh my God, there were a lot of things I was doing. Okay, so you dump the hashes for the lab sieve, then you acquire the domain seed, the child domain, and the parent domain, then we forge the internal ticket, then we dump the parent DC. Yeah, that's basically it. But dumping hashes does take time, so if you have questions, I implore you kindly ask. Dumping hashes does not is not that easy.
Yeah, feel free to ask. Probably we saw that we got to interact. I'd actually forgotten that Windows Defender was in this machine. We saw that there was Windows Defender there, and people had to use a specific technique to bypass it. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Why not use NetExec? Oh, NetExec is slow as hell. Oh my lord. I do not know. It usually tells me to grab a cup of coffee or something, but it's slow. I don't know why. It's the puppy. Why am I dumping the puppy? I have no idea. Just dump everything at once. When it comes to, I have no idea, to be honest. I just dump hashes. Oh, maybe. I'll try it out. I'll try it out. I'll try it out for these other things. But to be honest, the experiences I've had with that thing with dumping hashes is slow. So slow. Ah, I just had to give, I said, let me just stay with secret dump. It will give me the hashes that I want. Yeah, because now look. Yeah, so it ended up dumping the entire directory. Originally, I thought we would compromise the parent, then move to the child, but it's apparently the inverse. Yeah, it breaks sometimes when it's a bit fast, but it comes. Dumping the remote jet registry is usually a bit slow, but once it hits the mark, it is able to dump it. So Ghost, this is the parent inter-realm trust TGT. I'll explain a bit on TGTs because most people will not understand. But someone has asked me what I use for studying AD. It was me, hack the box machines, and AI. Hack tricks, maybe, but I'm telling you, this was literally practical knowledge being gathered here. That's where you will find the name of actual machines inside here. I will not say which ones, but if you see an active machines, just assume you haven't seen it for purposes, for good purposes. Let me explain a bit on forests. Forest trust is a trust relationship between two separate active directory forests, not just the domains. This, in order, like a good example of a forest may be a hospital domain, and a school domain, whereby they are managed by the same organization. For example, you can say child's organization managing a school and a hospital. The hospital domain belongs to the doctors, the nurses, the directors who belong to it, while the school domain can belong to the students, the lecturers, and such. Now, those two, you may want sometimes to share information across those two domains, particularly whereby a student is maybe getting treated within that information so that they are able to authenticate across them and access the resources between those forests. That's why it usually, that's the condition for forest trust. So it is always transitive within the forest by itself, can be one way or two way, and can be possible at forest functional level. So there's no automatic trust. That's true. You have to configure it and trust root domains. Yes. Isn't much here more. It's more of either it can be either. In the sense that I've given you, the condition that I have given you is what we call an interforest trust, but whereby the trust is between the parent and the child is called an intra because it's within that particular domain. And it results in a scenario whereby if you had a school, then you had the school domain, then you have a child of the school, such like maybe a primary school. So you end up with primary dot something dot edu. So you end up with a child of that. That becomes a child domain. And by default, it is usually bidirectional. That means that both domains trust each other. That is usually by default as we deem it to be. So an intraforest is between a child and a parent. The child is trusted by the parent and the child trusts the parent. And if it's filtering off, this allows the child to escalate to an enterprise administrator on the parent domain in two methods. In both, one does require knowledge of the domain seeds. Yeah, so I was explaining a bit on this. So you can forge what we call a golden ticket across the realm. This golden ticket is trusted. It's trusted, but you require to know this. It needs to be false for both. So just get. Okay, so okay, let me just paste it here. Let me see. It needs to be false for both. There's no seed filtering. That means that there are not particular seeds which are being removed. And it's not forest aware. That means that you can easily slide seeds across. What if you're not about seeds are usually security identifiers. It is how Active Directory, it is what Active Directory uses to identify the users. For example, let me show you in Bloodhound. So if I do administrator at ghost.htb, you will come across this object ID. This object ID is what is called the seed, the security identifier. It is what is used because the first part or aspect until this particular point is the domain seed. It is what identifies the domain for which this particular user belongs to. If right now I do get domain dom or get dom. I don't like dom seed or something. Yeah, dom seed of the DHN. Sorry for that. BCHN. Okay, so I do not know what I did. Dom seed, then the target domain. If I give it the domain, you'll find that it matches until this point of 66, as I was explaining. If you can see this part of 66. The other part is now what we call the relative identifier. It is the RID of that particular object within the LDAP environment. For administrator, usually starts at 500. But if you look at something like enterprise admins, which are the key admins, they are in charge of all the domains, usually at 519. And that's what we usually aim towards attacking. Yeah, so it's not a very hard concept, but understand that enterprise admins have the capability of making changes across all the domains. In case you had multiple domains in the forest, and that's why, assuming that this domain is the parent domain and the child, then we assume the intraforest. This is a prolab. You can go and check it out. I was making the information from it. So we compromise a child's domain KRBTGT key. And for us, we ended up with this key here. This key, we have the DES. So we can take this to AS256 because Kerberos uses that by default, or we can take up the hash. Then we look at the child domain seed. And then the parent domain, the domain seed of primary dot domain. There's nothing much. So let me see. It's not there. It's not an object. Okay. Oh, because it's called core. Sorry. It's there's something wrong. Maybe because of the information. But how we have compromised this, we can just do this. Then I believe it's something about domain seed. I'm not sure about this. Exact domain seed. And in the domain of get seed, sorry. It changes a lot of things. So once we provide this with the account that we added into the configuration, yeah, so we end up with the child seed. So we end up here with the child seed. The child seed is this. Then for parent, it's that. This is for core.ghost.htb. This is just for ghost.htb. Then we can come here and the KRBTGT, and the hash is this. Then now our goal is to look up the seed, forge the golden tickets, then abuse it to perform. Mine was not stabilizing, so I think I used this second method. Which was much better. So what happens is we tell it ticketer.py, and then we tell it, I can just copy this command, then I substitute. Okay, the first seed is this. Then the domain seed is the seed of the child domain. Then the lab is the domain is the child, so core.ghost.htb. The extra seed will form this part of the parent seed, but now we append the RID to be 519 for the 519 for the enterprise admins. Then we tell it krbtgt, and then we change this to ghost.htb, and that's it. Doesn't alter much, I pray. I haven't tested it. So it stores it into the administrator cache, then we provide it, we tell it. The best way to test a TGT is to always get the service ticket, which is the TGS. So we just provide it, we tell it get CFS, then the trusted DC dot trusted. Which one is this? Ghost.htb. What is this? What was there? Okay, ghost.administrator at ghost.htb. Then CIFS. We should target the DC01 because the service CIFS is provided by DC01. Look at DC01 ghost.htb. If you read the service principal names, you will come across something called the host. The host DC01, host DC01, this one, the host. The host is a service principal name that caters for CIFS and at PC services. Just know that. That's why you never see CIFS listed. It's very hard. And it also caters for LDAP for some reason. I believe it's some delegation thing, because I believe also that's how delegation has some work. So we can echo the DC host name, it's DC01. So DC01 ghost.htb. Yeah, this is much better. Okay, so let's run it. Oh my god. Bad integrity. Okay, this somewhere I've done something wrong. Yes.
Lord, so I wanted to ask, so we're trying to get a CIFS service ticket, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, so that means that through the, like in full form, the common internet file system service ticket is going to allow us to perform a DC sync. And then,
Yes, yes.
oh, yeah, so we are pretty close to wrapping things
Finishing.
up. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I can just keep this problem. Like, I believe I botched the ticket. I do not know exactly where, but I am pretty sure I botched either the SPN. Let me check. Let me just check
But
the
it's okay.
SPN.
We can still, just go with it. Like,
Mm, I'm pretty sure I botched either the SPN or something, but I'll just use raise child. Raise child. Then I give it the child domain. What was I doing? There was something I was doing before this. Yeah, this raise child. Then they say just give it this, and it will figure out itself. Okay, let me give it the domain. What is the domain of the child? Lab primary core dot ghost.h. Did I forget something with core? At, and then this maybe name of service not known. Okay. Well, let me see. Yeah, it's. I am not sharing that. And then 0.0.10 4.ghost.htb. All I know is that yes, yes, yes. It is done. It's done. Yeah, it's basically done. Yeah,
boom. Wow.
yeah. You,
That's nice.
I think I watched. I must have watched something with the tickets. I must have watched something. I do not know what, but this is how the analogy I used. Maybe it's just maybe it's the SPN.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let me check. Code.ghost.htb. Guitar code.ghost.htb SPN. Because what it does is I use this. Then they used TGT obtained using password. This is what I also did. Then I forged this one. Then I requested for TGS, but mine failed, unfortunately. So, but basically that was, you just raise the child, use the raise child operator, then you can add admin. Okay, so we can try to use that one. Then we do quick clean RAM, and we are administrator. So if we do tree -a-f, there sits some very good files for maintenance, but there is our root.txt, and that was a bit heavy. Why not try, oh, netexec? But why am I doing netexec, by the way? You know, I typically do things that avoid the long path as much as I can. But I think I botched the tickets because the bad integrity is just a ticket thing. The ticket is, oh, NetExec has it has something with Kerberos that makes it slow. It always wants to test something first, then it falls back to now what it's supposed to do. I have never known what, but it is always slow in that aspect. That's why I'm usually avoiding NetExec when it comes to Kerberos related things. But when it comes to the normal password, it's fast. Now, do you have questions? I pray I have not botched this thing. I don't know what's wrong with my command.
Oh, I had a question regarding the raise child script that you just ran there. Like, how did that, like, what happened that you were able to even retrieve those hashes?
What happens is that what it does is it gets the KRBTGT keys and then it forges the inter-realm trust TGT. Because there's no seed filtering, like I showed you here, there's no seed filtering. The seeds of that ticket are trusted automatically by the parent KDC, the Kerberos server. It just trusts it blindly without filtering those seeds. It's like I trust you.
Oh, I understand.
It trusts those TGTs blindly. So once it trusts this blindly, one of them, the seeds contain the enterprise admin. It contains the enterprise admin seed. And once it contains the enterprise admin seed, it allows you to do DC sync by default. But the thing is, as an enterprise admin, you can request a TGS for the administrator.
Oh, I didn't see that line there.
Yeah, so it's like the TGS, then it does DC sync after that. Then once it got the KRBTGT, then a golden ticket attack is easily, but then it says the target user is administrator. Let's just give it the hash of the administrator. Just something I think they provide here.
That was nice. It was a really lovely machine. I really enjoyed it.
I hope you understood. I think I watched something. I'll have to look into this because this doesn't make sense to me. Let me just play with it. I understand where I went wrong. Okay. I'll just test it and see. Maybe it's me requesting. Okay. So yes, it's the TGT belongs to the ghost.htb, but then that's why I don't know what is wrong with this. I always believe it's this. It's not even about who it saves us. Let me see. Okay. Kerberos ticket that's the issue. Either it's how it's been forged, or I'll take it apart later. But if you have questions, you can ask now so that we can all do it. Let me just collapse everything.
Feel free to ask any question.
Yeah.
Like I saw someone who was interested in understanding Active Directory basics, like fundamentally.
Okay, I'd recommend. Honestly, my personal recommendation is, if you want peace, avoid it. But if you are looking for understanding, I'd say look into KEP, the Certified Active Directory Pen Testing Expert. the CAPE exam, it will teach you a lot. If you sit down with that paper, sit down with those modules, I assure you, you will come out learning a lot. Even the person who usually like does most of Active Directory and LTE, he said that that is one of the most inclusive and very best exams produced by Hack the Box. It is very good, and I assure you, you will learn a lot. Invest into that. I assure you, invest.
Anyone else with a question? Any question whatsoever? Any question? No matter how basic it would sound, don't be afraid. Just feel free to ask it. And I'd also like to thank the 15 people who have remained with us. It's almost like it's almost 12 a.m. and we are still here hacking it out. I'm glad that you've been able to stick around up until now, until you've been able to achieve root together. So that's amazing. I understand that probably when we began the session, things didn't go so well, but we want to say that we'll try our best to not have such a situation again. We were trying to find a way of utilizing Discord so that we can make more people start using Discord, even in their learning. Like, let's say, for the seasonal machines that they're going to be that are happening currently. Like, you can be utilizing Discord to form study groups where you meet with your friends, specific people that you have that desire of growth. Like, you meet together, you learn together, and you hack together. So that was our idea. So that's why we've been trying to use Discord as a platform so that we're able to introduce that. But unfortunately, things didn't go as we had planned initially. Though I hope that you're going to forgive us for the early mistake that happened. Sometimes, yeah, mistakes happen, but still, I hope you've been able to finish with a powerful, like, I hope we've been able to finish with a powerful note. So, I see Abdi has a question. Yeah, I think it would have. Probably Claude could answer that.
Oh yes. When I reached that point, I could manipulate the DNS. I could have just done NTLM reflection and finished this thing, but I chose to do the entire thing.
Yeah, so yeah, we've been able to hear that, like, from Claude. Actually, I think there's a couple of machines that have been very easy to, like, it's been very easy to compromise them through recent vulnerabilities that were discovered, like probably like a month after the machine has been released or later after the machine has been released. There's a particular machine I did back in 2020. I can't remember it very well. I can't remember also the name of that vulnerability, but it was so easy to pull it off. It was Active Directory. Though, yeah, it's something that that happens. Yeah, so that's been a masterclass from the one and only Claude. We've enjoyed it, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of people have been able to learn from this session. So thank you, Claude. It's always great having you.
You're welcome. Hopefully next time I'll take a bit into something like that resolves around simple. This was like consecutive, like a lot of AD steps. So maybe I'll find something that maybe it's just 1 to 3 AD steps that are a bit complicated, but they're nice. Yeah, I may find something. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. We'll really appreciate that. So for the people who probably who are attending with us today and they do not know what Active Directory is, I had shared a particular module from Hack the Box. I think it costs like 10 cubes. I think if you solve like the first room, the getting started room, and a couple of like not rooms, but two modules, you're going to get enough cubes to purchase that module. It's very in-depth and very comprehensive. It explains everything. Like that's how you're going to be able. I think there's some people who are hearing, who are not understanding why people referring to was talking about a parent or a child or a parent-child relationship and everything. Some people probably were not able to like understand what is that. So through this module, you can actually get to understand it. You will understand it in a broader way, like in a fundamental way, not more as an attacker, but fundamentally like about Active Directory, like in a broader way, you know. Yeah, we should also do Dark Cop too. Yeah, that's also a fun.
When we were planning this, I asked you if you do Ghost or Dark.